Hello, fifth graders. Mrs. Hales here with your next art project. For this project, we're going to be working on name designs. Name designs are when you take your initials and you work with them in a composition. You use color, pattern, and symbols to communicate something about yourself. So, for example, my full name is Whitney Bennett Hale. So I could take my first initial from Whitney, so I could take WB from Bennett and H from Hales and use those three initials in a name design. Or I could just take my W and my H from Whitney Hales and use those two letters in a name design. I decided for this one to use the W, the B, and the H. I made the H the largest for Hales and I put that in the center of my name design. I put a paintbrush and a pencil in there because those are symbols that communicate that I like to draw and paint. They communicate something about me. And then I put a pattern in my H of flowers because I love to grow flowers and to garden. And I also love patterns. So I turned that into a little flower pattern. So those are things that tell you something about who I am. So for your project, you're going to have to use 2 or 3 initials, and you're going to have to put some symbols in there that communicate stuff about you. And we'll talk all about how to come up with those symbols. But first, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the history of letters in art. The ancient Egyptians were the first culture to invent illuminated manuscripts. Illuminated manuscript is when you put pictures and words together to tell a story. It could be a true story, could be historical, or it could be fiction. In medieval times, in European countries, books and manuscripts were made by scribes and monks who worked for churches. Their jobs were to document history and write down stories from the Bible. Remember, most people couldn't read and write back then. Illuminated letters were usually the first letter from the first word on the page or a paragraph. And the illuminated letter was a way to get pictures or symbols into the text to help people understand what they were reading. What do we call these pictures within a story today? Right, we call them illustrations. So illuminated letters were the beginning of illustration. So today we have artists called illustrators that add pictures to stories, books, and articles. And we also have graphic designers. Graphic designers are artists who use words, symbols, and images to communicate something or sell us something. Because graphic designers work so much with words, the design of the letters, called the typeface or the font, is very, very important to graphic designers. So you're going to be a graphic designer in this project. You're going to design a type style or a font, and then you're going to add some symbols to that. And that's the way you're going to get to be a graphic designer. Overall, this project is going to take us 3 classes to complete. For the first day, the supplies that you need are a pencil, an eraser, and a few pieces of copy paper or notebook paper. It doesn't have to be high quality drawing paper because we're just going to be doing brainstorm sketching on that paper. So brainstorm sketching is when you just come up with 3, in this case, 3 different ideas or directions that you could go with your letter designs. Let me show you what I mean. My first idea was to make bubble letters. So first I drew the straight letters in capital letters, and then I drew round bubble shape around each letter. Now, I could have decided that I love this. I could overlap them or push them together, or I could spread them apart if I wanted to put something like an ice cream cone between them. But I didn't really love that design. So for my second idea, I wanted to try doing that same bubble letter, but what would happen if I overlapped all 3 of those rounded bubble letters and pushed them closer together? The good thing about the bubble letter design is it's a fat letter, so it gives you a lot of space in the letter to draw pictures or symbols. My second brainstorm idea I call thick and thin. So again, I write capital letters, and then I'm going to make one side, or you can make 2 sides. In the case if you have like a W or an M, you're going to make that part of the letter thicker and then another part of the letter thinner. And then you can put designs or patterns in the thicker part. For my third brainstorm sketch idea, I wanted to try a graffiti style of font or typeface. And then I was looking at different styles of graffiti, and I started to think about all the art elements and principles of design that graffiti uses and how complicated it is. The size of the letters in relationship to each other are important. That's called scale. They're often overlapping each other. They're often 3D, which is, more difficult to do. And then they combine square and round shapes, which is really hard to do. So I found one that I liked that I thought I could do, and then it turned out to be a 3D letter. I liked this design a lot because it had a large letter that would give me room to put patterns, but I wanted to see what it would look like if I did all three of my initials. So I redrew those letters, moved my B over, and put a larger H for Hales in the middle. I think that one is my favorite. I wanted to show you what it would look like if you wanted to do 3D letters on your own of your initials. So I picked some common letters, and I'm going to show you how to make them. So first you start with like a blocky or a square letter. You want to try to make your lines as straight as possible, but you don't need to get out a ruler. So to make your S, you make a straight line S, and then you put a line at the bottom where it ends and put another S beside it. So to make your letters 3D, you want to think about where the light source is coming. So if the light's coming from the left-hand side, then there's going to be a shadow on the bottom right-hand side of all of your letters. Curvy letters are definitely the hardest because you have to change where your shadow is sometimes. So don't panic. I'm going to put up for your proctor or your teacher to leave up different examples of letters, and you can just copy where you see the shadows on the examples. I'm just showing you right now how to do it. So this light source is at the top left of my picture, so my shadows are on the bottom of my letters. What I'm pointing out here is that all your diagonal lines need to be parallel to each other for your letters to look like they're in the same place and like they're the same size. So all your lines that are diagonal, you should try to make as parallel as you can. Remember from math, parallel lines go on forever and ever next to each other and they don't touch. Now I'm just shading the dimensional part of the letter so that it'll help that part stand out for you. Another good thing about brainstorm sketching is it gives you a chance to practice a new technique, like making 3D letters. So brainstorm sketching is not the time to worry about if something is perfect. It's a time to jot down your ideas and practice. I also did a quick brainstorm sketch of some cursive letters. All right, boys and girls, now is the time for you to make your 3 different brainstorm sketches. It'd be great if each sketch could be a different typeface or a different letter design. I have put together some typefaces that I like a lot, and I would like for you to pause the screen and leave those up, and you can use those as inspiration, or you can make up your own. I will see you next time. Remember to bring your 3 brainstorm sketches back to class or to get them out for next class.